Uber has lost so much money. What is leading the losses?
So, yeah, we're in uncharted territory. I mean, even if you look back to sort of the biggest excesses of the dot-com bubble, Amazon in a year lost, I think, just a little over $1 billion. So Uber looks like it'll surpass that this year. The main big story is China. Basically, Uber has been spending hugely on driver subsidies, both in the U.S., but mostly overseas. And the good news for Uber is they just made a deal with their largest competitor in China that basically will allow them to exit the market. And they're telling us, or people who are familiar with their finances are telling us, that in the second half of the year, we're not going to see those losses on Uber's financials.
But nonetheless, Uber commands an extraordinarily high valuation in the private market. How does the market then justify these continued high valuations when the company is still bleeding that cash?
I mean, market share. The big thing is Uber has something like 85% of the U.S. market, and people think this is a big industry. I mean, Uber may be losing huge amounts of money, but it's growing really fast. I think bookings were up to $5 billion in the most recent quarter, $1 billion in revenue. So huge growth, but also just huge expenses. I mean, when you take an Uber, in a big city and you wonder why it's so cheap, the reason it's so cheap is because on the other side of it, Uber is spending a lot of money to the driver to incentivize them to take that fare.
Right, so it's all about needing the volume to offset the price. And
exactly.
then to your point, bookings actually grew from 3.8% to more than 3.8 billion to more than 5 billion quarter on quarter. So yes, a huge thing there. Does this at all affect the company's plans to go public, or if it would to go public?
What's interesting, I mean, they're kind of almost a public company now, right? I mean, we're talking about their quarterly finances as if they were public. I think they have plenty of cash. I think we're reporting that there's something like $8 billion in cash that they're sitting on. So I don't think there's any hurry, and so I wouldn't expect it in the next couple of quarters. But obviously, that's the direction they're moving.